More Side Order is here. Yeah, it's coming out in spring 2024. I actually talked about this a bit on the second channel because we kind of knew from the season files, but delay aside, there's a lot of stuff to look into here. So let's focus on the positives and break down this new trailer. And if you enjoy this and want to see more Side Order content from me, be sure to subscribe. Let's get started with the characters we know of. First off, we have Pearl, whose only presence is shown in the form of this drone. They are not physically present. We do know a few things about them though. The palette device that allows you to attach certain ability enhancements is her palette. It states it directly. And it seems like in battle, she's basically going to function as a weird version of Little Buddy, being a form of sub-weapon. We can see on the menu that she has splat bombs attached to her, and she can do damage in battle. As you can see, the different color of the damage being done here, as well as the different damage number, clearly is stated as hers. And in fact, she's even thrown at one point. We'll touch on the upgrade system more later, but she is able to be leveled up. Next up was the big surprise, Deadfish, also known as Oct. They have the most dialogue out of anyone here. According to what they say, it seems like they were sucked into this world and that they're an old friend of Marina, possibly knowing them before they went to the surface and back when they were in the Octoling army. They mostly just stay in the elevator, they got a cool 8-ball hat, and the main bit of lore is their name over here translates in German to 8. Sharing the same number as the main character you play as has gotta mean something here, I think. Deadfish does have some similarities to Marina, both doing music stuff, and I'm also hoping with seeing this character that we'll finally get some more answers as to what exactly sanitization does. Like with Agent 8, who we'll mention in a second, they also have a little device on their arm, but it's hard to tell what exactly it does. Speaking of 8, they are confirmed the playable character, so finally we have a returning protagonist that you're actually able to play as. There's also a lot more Octo expansion references here. At one point earlier in the trailer, we can see mem cakes possibly being manufactured. Considering it's their memories, that is pretty drastic. And the primary weapon of the campaign, it seems, is these brand new dualies, which it's worth noting is Pearl's main weapon, who is the person helping you with this. We do know there are more though, because on the Splatoon website we do see the boy version of Agent 8, which has a Splatana stamper, which also has a unique skin to it. Looks very cool. Finally, there is Marina, who is never physically shown in this entire trailer, so just a few images of art from the first one is all we've seen of this character. They are talked about by Deadfish a little bit in the fact that they knew them, but that doesn't really give us much. However, in the gameplay, there are a few cans that seem to have her logo on it. So we do know she's here somewhat, but it's hard to say what. There's a lot of villain theories and her getting kidnapped theories out there. We'll have to see which is true. Besides that though, we do have the enemies. They're all fish. For once, no rival Octoling reskin as far as we can see, which nice change of pace. These appear to be parrotfish, which in the real world do have correlation with coral, and as far as we know, they're the only enemy we see, and they all have red eyes. Onto the world though, it's worth mentioning there is a lot of glitch effects and some code ones. Some of these seem very similar to the screens of The Matrix, and I'm wondering if there's some implications there. I saw Ambers on Twitter bring up a very old Splatfest quote from Pearl and Marina, where Marina says, "It's funny because we're all living in a simulation and free will is a lie." You know, that was a funny quote as is, but I mean, with all the hints we've seen in this trailer, Deadfish being sucked in, 8 and their weapons just appear from polygons, and Pearl is a machine here, so who knows? Maybe this is some form of digital world or simulation that they're trapped in, not the real world. Though it turns out for Agent 8, this actually functions as their respawn timer. Twitter user Rin noticed the little soul thing there, which is a nice touch. The only other things I can note from the world building is there is this meat grinder thing, which we see quite a lot in the trailer actually. We don't really know much about it other than some of the ink seems to come out of it. Who knows how dark that could be considering the Octo expansion blunders in the final fight, but considering how often it's shown off, I'm willing to bet this has more importance than we're originally able to note. In general though, I think this world building gives off a lot of NieR Automata vibes, even from someone who hasn't really played it and only watched a little bit, which is pretty cool. The devs have stated that they are talking about the game having heavy replayability. It does seem in the game that you have difficulties that unlock different perks as you progress up the tower floors, so you can end up having different sets of perks and loadouts each time. For example, we can also see in-game that the damage numbers can change a lot and you're often swarmed by a lot of enemies. There are still many other staples of the single player in the past, such as the crates, armor, usable specials, and ink rails, which we can all see at some point. And of course, there is some kind of boss at the end. The goop in it looks pretty similar to the sanitization ink at the end of Octo expansion, and the red eyes look somewhat similar to Tartar. Though, personally, I hope they don't bring him back fully, because I kind of like how he went out in that game, and want something different. This may play very different to Octo expansion. I've seen a lot of people comparing them, but if it's intended to be replayed a lot, maybe the gameplay aspect is a bit shorter, or maybe there's some variance depending on how you progress the tower that can change the levels. I'm not sure, but it does seem like they're trying to go for a very different vibe with the story mode, and it seems a lot more experimental. Here's some other small stuff I noticed. One of the challenges just has the Splat Zones logo logo on it. No idea why, and it doesn't even seem to indicate the challenge is anything about painting the zone. One of the biggest discoveries we've seen is that the text on one of the abilities for run speed says it can boost your speed in either Octoling or Inkling form. When I shared this post, I did not realize how many Agent 4 copium posts there were, but yeah, people are very much hoping we get Agent 4, and considering how many Splatoon 2 characters are in this, I'd be kinda surprised if they weren't. This may just be a translation though. It is the same as the actual run speed ability in the game, so maybe they just forgot to take out Inkling from it. But I don't know, even then, that seems like a really easy error to spot. Maybe in some parts of the game we're playing as a different character, possibly an Inkling, or maybe there's some odd thing where we can change our species? No idea. Speaking of things we have no idea about, what the hell is that voice thing at the very end of the trailer? Honestly, I have no leads for any of this, and it's really hard to tell what it's referencing. Maybe it's something entirely new. So remember that giant machine that we talked about a little bit earlier? Yeah, it has a yellow torpedo logo on it. It is like one of the only recognizable things about it, and I have no idea why it's just this sub-weapon out of anything. Speaking of subs and specials, one of the common kits for this dually here is Curling Bomb Reef Slider. Trust me, I think this is a single-player exclusive kit, but it would be very funny if Perry got Curse of Slider and we had our third new promising weapon ruined by Reef Slider. Please just give a jetpack in multiplayer. So before we wrap up, it's very clear that Side Order is trying to be a different genre and is most likely going to resemble a roguelike game. This is basically where you have a character that you level up and you go through multiple, well, in this case, floors, defeating enemies. Maybe they're somewhat randomly generated, maybe there's some planned things, and based on how you go through it, you can get different skill points for a different skill tree, basically the upgrades we've seen. It'll probably all still end with a boss fight and there'll be a story mode and such, but this explains a lot more of the replayability aspect. You could go through it multiple different times, changing how your character is developed and what kinds of stuff you use your upgrade points on. From my opinion as a Splatoon fan, I think it could be very interesting. As long as the levels you're going through are well designed and the perks that you get are more than just a little bit faster run speed, I think it could be a really nice change of pace. And I know from a lot of more casual fans that people want something different out of the Splatoon series, and this is a good way to keep the mechanics the same compared to something like Table Turf, and it's also a good way of distinguishing itself from Octo Expansion. I still care more about the story than anything else, but as long as that part is good as well, I'm totally open to this new direction. So yeah, that's everything we got. Like with last time, not really gonna try to piece everything together right now. I've kind of realized the more I've waited that I want to go into this as blind as possible, and I think this trailer did a good job of showcasing a lot of new stuff and giving us more of an idea of what it is without giving away a lot of the story and gameplay itself, which good, I want to be surprised by it. So I'm looking forward to Side Order. Let me know what you guys think. Is there anything I missed? And I'll see you all next time.